Hey, what's going on, everyone, and welcome to another video. In today's video, we are going to build a tip calculator Android app. It is very simple. As you can see, it asks for the bill amount. So let's say that we consume at a restaurant 50.90. Okay, so the tip, we want to leave a 10% tip. And for the amount of people, that was 2 people, and then we hit calculate, and it will give you the total bill, which is $59.99. That's the bill plus the 10% tip. It tells you that the tip 10% is $509, and each paid $28. So let's get started. All right, so I have the project open here, but if you want to start from the beginning, just go ahead and click on File, New, and then New Project. I'm selecting an empty activity. Click Next, give it a name, and click Finish. My package or my application is called Tip Calc, or you can call it Tip Calculator. Whatever you want, it doesn't make any difference. And then click Finish. Once you arrive here, Android Studio, open the project, and then I'm going to click on colors and go underneath resources and expand values and click on colors. I added these colors. Once I finish the project, I'm going to upload it to GitHub. So if you want to follow along, you can copy the exact same colors. Another thing is that in the styles, that XML file, for the theme, I'm using a theme app compat light, no action bar. So I'm not using an action bar for this one. Then I'm going to click on activity main.xml, and I'm going to add a background, a custom background that I've already created in GIMP. So I'm going to come here, I'm going to copy, and I'm going to come here where it says drawable. I'm going to right click on it, and then I'm going to paste my background here. And it is background2.png, is a PNG image. And so I'm going to here, I'm going to use constraint layout. And so here inside constraint layout, at the root level, I'm going to say background, and I'm going to set it to background 2. And this is the background that I'm going to get. Making this background is actually very simple if you know how to use GIMP. If not, then just do a search online, and there are plenty of backgrounds that you can use, or you can use a plain background color. It's up to you. There is another thing that I need to import, and that is an icon for my header title. A good resource for icons is the material.io website from Google. You go to resources, icons, and then I'm using an icon called Echo, which is this leaf right here. You can click on it and download the SVG file. I'm working with an SVG file. And so next, let's create the XML for the SVG file. So go ahead and click on drawable, right click on drawable, new, and then go to vector asset. I'm going to browse to the, actually it is, I'm going to do it again, new, vector asset, and it is a local SVG file. Click on it, click OK, and I'm going to change the color. So I'm going to click finish and finish. So next I'm going to double click on that, the echo.xml file, and here I'm going to change the color to, or you can just click here, and I'm going to select some version of white. And that's pretty much it. So let's head over to the activity main.xml file and add a constraint layout here. And this one is, the width is going to be match parent, and for the height, I'm going to do 180 dp. So it's going to be kind of like a header for the application. So as it is a constraint layout, you get this underlying error because you haven't constrained the element inside the activity. So use the handles to do that. Or you can enter the code here manually. Next, I want to add an image view and a text view. I'm going to head over to design, and I want an image view. Actually, I need a text view first. I'm going to place it there, and then I need an image view. I'm going to place it right on top. And for the image view, I'm going to click on project, and I'm going to select my element. And of course, I need to constrain that. And I need to do the same thing for the text view. Heading over to text view, and I'm going to change the text to I want to change the text view to keep everything in order underneath the image view. And I want to change the text. Instead of saying text view, I want to say tip calculator. And for the text, I'm going to text color. I'm going to change it to text color text body. And for the font size, so it's text size, I want to change it to, let's say, 20 SP. Let's try 30 SP. And for the width of the image view, I'm going to send it to, let's say, 40 dp, 50 dp, actually 40 dp is better. And for the height, it starts to look a lot better. And so next, I am going to set the font family for the image, for the text view. So heading back to design, click on text view and click on attributes. And here where it says, we can always search here. So let's say font family. And clicking on this drop down, let's go into more fonts. And I'm looking for a font called April Flat Face. That's kind of a weird name. So I'm going to click OK. And now apply the font. All right, so that's it for the header portion. So let's go now into the body section here. I'm going to add another constraint layout. And this one will be also with match parent and hide, let's say, wrap content. And here I need, so let's go into design view first. And here I need one edit text at the top. So I'm going to say edit text, which is a plain text. Right about there. I need a spinner. I'm going to place it right underneath the edit text. I've worried about formatting it later, and I need another edit text. All right, so I also need a button. Right about there. And I need another text view, which is going to be for the output at the bottom. Now we need to constrain all these elements. All right, so in this section, we are going to implement the code, the functionality for the app. So let's go into main activity. And let's start by instantiating all the elements in the activity. So I'm going to say private edit text. And this one, I'm going to call it build edit text. I need another edit text. This one is people edit text. And I need an image view. Actually, I need two image view. This one will be for the logo at the top of the activity. This one right here. I'm going to call this one icon image view. Another one for a text view. And this one will be main text view. And I need a spinner. This one I'm going to call it tip spinner. And if you come across this red text with the underscore, just press Alt Enter, import classes. So next, I'm going to come here on inside the onCreate method, and I'm going to start instantiating my view. So I'm going to say build edit text equals to find view by ID r.id build edit text, Ctrl Shift Enter to autocomplete, and then I'm going to say people, same thing, find. Next, icon image view equals find. And let me see if I give the icon. So I'm going to change this ID to icon underscore image view. And for the text view underneath, I'm going to change it to main text view. I also need to create a button. And that was just a button, the ID. And finally, I need to instantiate the spinner. However, the spinner implementation is going to be a little bit different, but nothing complicated. All right, so I'm going to run the app to see what we have so far. And this is the calculator. So one thing that we need here is to implement a custom spinner, because as you can see, the text for the spinner is going to have a different background. So we need to implement an XML layout in order to customize the spinner. So I'm going to head over to layout, and I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to go to new layout resource, and this, when it says root element, I'm going to say checked text view, and I'm going to call it spinner layout.xml, and I'm going to click OK. Double click on that, and I'm going to go into text view, and I already have the code for it. So basically what I'm doing here, I'm going to give it a text color of the text color body in 20 SP font size, and I'm going to set the first element to 0% and wrap content for the width and height. So that is going to be for the view of the spinner. And so now we need to create another XML layout for the view of the drop-down menu when we click the spinner and we get the options. So I'm going to right-click on layout resource file, but instead of this time, I'm going to say this one, I'm going to call it spinner dropdown.xml. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to open that one in text mode, and I also have the code here for this one. Basically, I'm setting the text size to 18 SP, padding 2 dp, color spinner background, and the text color body, and it is a text view. So going back into main activity, now we need to implement the spinner. One thing before I continue, I need to declare a private string. Is going to be an array list of type string, and I'm going to call it tip list. So I need to initialize that one too here. So I'm going to say tip list equals new array list. Next, we need to implement the array adapter for the spinner. So we also need to declare that one here. And we need to pass the current view or the current activity. We also need to pass the spinner layout, and we need to pass the array, which is tip list. Next, we need to set the adapter to set the drop-down view resources, and this one we need to set it to the drop-down.xml. Next, we need to set the spinner to the adapter, so I'm going to say spinner and finally we need to set the on item selected listener. So I'm going to say tip spinner set on item select listener equals this, and notice now that I have a underscore here, and it is because we need to implement an on item listener. So here at the top of the class, I'm going to say implement on item selected listener. And notice now that I have another underscore, and the reason being is that I need to override two methods that are used in this interface. And one is the on item selected and nothing is selected, so I'm going to click OK. and I have those two here. So the on item selected is the one that we need to implement when the user clicks on the drop down menu for the spinner and selects an option. But before we do that, I need to implement another method here because we need to populate the content of the spinner. So I'm going to call this one public void build, actually add to spinner. And I'm going to use a method here that says adding elements to spinner. And for the first element of the spinner, I'm going to add to tip list add, and I'm going to say tip. This is what it's going to show at the top of the spinner. So when the activity opens, this is going to be there. And so let's make it right. Instead of hard coding it there, let's do private static final string spinner, and let's say tip. Okay. So here let's do a for loop, and instead of 0, let's start at 1, because 1% is the actual first number. And let's do until let's say tip underscore max I++. And for this, I'm going to set tip max to equals 20. And you can change this number. It's up to you. And let's add it into the tip list. I'm going to say I, and of course it is a string. So we need to cast this into a string. So this will be to build the elements for the spinner. And before building the spinner, we need to call this add to spinner method. And the onSelected method, basically what it's going to contain, it will be, let's go ahead and declare an integer here, and let's call it tip. And we're going to say tip equals to position. Actually, it is position. Okay. And we need to do the main logic of the application here. So I'm going to do it in a method called public void calculate total. So I'm going to declare a string here called build string, and I'm going to say equals to build edit text get text to string, and this is going to get the input from the user for the build. And next I'm going to say if build string equals null, or build string length less than or equals than 0. It cannot be equals than 0. Then we're going to use a toes here, and I'm going to say make toes enter build amount. All right, so and that takes care of some input validation. So next I'm going to say double bill equals to double parse double bill string. Next I'm going to say int num of people equals to integer parse int people edit text and get text to string. And then I'm going to use decimal format the F2 because we only need 2 decimal points after the comma. Another double on this one, I'm going to call it tip dollar, and I'm going to say bill times tip divided by 100. And for the total bill, that will be another double. And this one will be bill plus tip dollar. And finally, we need to output a string. So I'm going to say string output equals to total bill, total bill. And we're going to use here a new line. And for the next line, I want to say tips. Also df2 format. And here is going to be tip and dollar. Again, new line. And finally, each pay. df2 format. And this would be total bill divided by the number of people. All right, so we finished with this method, and then we need to create the listener for the button. So I'm going to say calculate set on click listener, new on click listener, and that's going to generate the method for us. And here I'm going to call the calculate total method. Okay, so let's go ahead and run the app. All right, so one thing that I forgot to do, the app works, but when I click calculate, it doesn't display anything, and that's because I forgot to create a reference to the output text view. So let's go ahead and do that right now. And here inside the calculate total, after we calculate the total, we are going to say output text view set text output. All right, so there is a misspelling here, or a typo. Instead of multiplication, should be plus. I completely missed that point here. And so let's go ahead and run it. Let's leave the same numbers, click calculate, and now we got the right numbers. And so that's it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.